Bekah, welcome to the WorkPlay podcast.
Thank you, Lyric. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so excited to have you on. This is going to be a really special episode because we are going to dive deep into a new WorkPlay offering that is included in the signature WorkPlay method. So this is not like an additional charge for WorkPlay members, but it's just a new feature of our service, and that is your creative director role. This is a role that we'll talk about the origin of this role and how it came to be, but like this is a role that's been a long time coming. And I just think that you are the perfect person for this role. And we're going to deep dive into like the step-by-step process of what this is going to look like inside of the method, what it's already looked like. I know that you've been doing sessions throughout the month so far, but moving forward, it's just a huge value add that you're giving to everyone before their WorkPlay shoots. So I am so excited to dive into that. I first want to just introduce you to the entire WorkPlay community. So I would love for you to just tell us who you are, tell us how you got started in WorkPlay branding and that whole origin story, because I just find it so fascinating.
Yes, of course. So I'm like one of those all over the place people. I am a West Coast girl who somehow ended up in the Midwest, but I've literally lived all over the place. And I'm now still in the Midwest. Hopefully that will be the South. It's by next year, but we'll see. But yeah, no, WorkPlay, like it was actually kind of crazy because it kind of stumbled into my lap. The way it came about, I found it through a mutual friend who had told me about it, and he was just like, "Oh, this sounds like it's right up your alley." And I was like, "This sounds too good to be true, right? Like, I get to travel, I get to take pictures. Like, there's no way. There's got to be a catch." And I remember I was so nervous because obviously the hiring process was a little different then. I like slid into your guys' DMs and I was like, "Hi, like, I really love your brand." And like, I was trying not to like really geek out in the DM. I wanted to still come across as professional, but I had already been following you and WorkPlay and your mom for a while, and I was just in love with the brand and everything about it. And I would not shut up about it. If you ask my family, like they were like, this girl was obsessed, little bit of an issue, kind of annoying. But before you guys even hired me, I was like, this is so cool. I want to be a part of this. And it was funny because throughout my time in college, I just like wasn't sure which direction I would take my media production degree. I was like, I know I like storytelling. I know I love photography and video, but I just need to figure out like my niche because there's so many different kinds. And I had dabbled in everything. I had done wedding photography. I had done like your standard like lifestyle photography for people. And I had been running my own business since high school. And what I found was that I didn't like taking pictures for other people. At least that's what I thought at that point. I was like, there's just too many things about it that I don't like. And I eventually came to the conclusion that I did like taking pictures for other people. It was just, I liked when there was that personal connection through the person I was taking pictures of and myself and the visuals. And that didn't have a name yet. Like, at that time, content branding wasn't as big as it is now. Like that was like the rise of social media and influencers. And at that point, it was photographers versus influencers. And like there was this secret, like, we don't associate with them. Like it was one or the other. And I had taken a senior capstone class, and my professor had gone around and asked each of us, like, where do you see yourself taking this degree? Like, give me a job description, describe your dream job. And I was like, I want to travel and I want to take pictures that tell an amazing story. And she looked me dead in the face and was like, good luck, because like that's not a thing. Like, unless you're going to work for like National Geographic or like, or Vogue, like that's not a thing. And I'm like, okay, watch me, because I'll find it. And I
You
did. Like,
found
I
it.
found it through you guys. Yeah.
I love no, that story makes me so happy because I think that you know, people see workplay branding, like business owners see workplay branding. I think 99% of the people listening are business owners right now. But what they don't see is that workplay branding is also fueling an industry on the back end that is giving opportunity to all of these talented people all across the country that might not have that opportunity just based on so many different factors. I mean, it's hard out there, right? And like the ability to come into a team where it's like all you have to do is pour into your creativity. I think that is what makes content creators in workplay branding super special. That's what makes them love their job. That's what makes them want to fly, you know, all over the country to do your shoots, is because like this is such a coveted like working career, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I like to point that out because I have had people approach me and be like, are your photographers happy? You know, do that. I'm like, no, trust me. Like, I'm pretty sure they are because, you know, we get hundreds of applications every single day.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding, every single day that we have to sift through, and we're constantly building our team and scaling up the team. But like,
Yeah.
we're only looking for those people that are just craving the creativity, which you obviously exuded when you, I mean, well, you know, when you came into the team, we were like, we were like, oh, someone wants to be on our team, like, you know what I mean? So it was a little bit different back then, but like just I think it's just a testament to the brand and like the
Mhm.
type of people that, you know, we attract
Mhm.
onto the team. It's amazing, and I think that's what makes it really special. So I would love to know like where this creativity even started in your life, like oh, because I do think that like you kind of have, not saying that you can't be creative if you're not like, you know, a creative person. You definitely can be, but like I do think like it does come naturally to some people versus other
Mhm.
people. Where did this whole thing kind of start for you in your life? When did you know that you wanted to be in a creative field?
So, from the time I was really young, like I was not a big classroom student.
Me either.
I
I was
always wanted to be
skipping
different.
class.
Like, I actually got in an argument in the third grade with my teacher because I changed the spelling of my name. And she was like, that is not your legal name. And I said, yes, it is now. Like, this is how we spell my name now. Like, I've always been just like wanted to be different. And I learned from a very young age that I could do that through my creativity. And I picked up my first camera probably when I was like, I don't know, 10, 11. My mom had this little point and shoot Kodak. And like I would just take ridiculous pictures with my siblings. We have the most bizarre photos because I just like went ham with the camera at a very young age. And I recently am like, why are these still on Facebook? Like they need to go away. But when I was 11 or 12, my grandma had taken me to Minnesota to visit family for the first time. And that was the first time that I'd really gotten a taste of travel. And then when I was 13, I had flown as an unaccompanied minor from California to Chicago. And then I went from Chicago to Italy with a choir. It was my uncle's choir. We went on this choir trip, and I had a camera with me. And again, just like silly pictures, just like documenting the entire trip. Like that was when I realized that I loved storytelling through pictures. It was just like, this is so special. And like, it just holds so many memories. And that was kind of what started it. And then I kind of like veered off from people for a long time. My mom thinks it's hilarious, but she loves to bring up the fact that like when I was a kid, I enjoyed taking pictures of like flowers more than I did like my siblings.
I love it.
Yeah, and then I just like eventually like transitioned into like the Instagram. Like that was back in like 2011, 2012 when like people were doing like Instagram meetups for like photographers, like all that kind of stuff. So it just kind of like spiraled from there because social media was introduced and yeah, I learned how to like create my own brand like before I even knew what it was from a very young age. Like I'm a lot of clients already know this, but like I'm branded the little gypsy on like everything. and it's been that way since I was 17. Like it took me a while to kind of suss it out, but I created a brand out of it. And like I remember people telling me like that's not really a brand, like you just like traveling, like I'm like no, like this is me, like this is my stories. And I've somehow figured out a way to like intersect the two. And so it's just kind of been my niche ever since.
Were you a Tumblr girly by
I
chance?
was a Tumblr
Yeah,
girly.
I feel like there's a lot of creatives out there that were just like Tumblr was my platform because,
Yes.
and if you're either too old and have no idea what we're talking about, or too young and have no idea, I feel like it was definitely a millennial, it wasn't even social media, it was like a millennial platform, and it was kind of
Mhm.
like the form of blogging, but
Yeah.
visually.
And it
And
felt intimate and like
yeah,
private because you
yes,
didn't follow people you knew in real life. You just
yes.
followed strangers off the internet.
And you know what's funny is like now that like we're kind of talking about it, it's just like when you had a Tumblr blog, it was these visual blogs that you could go on. When you had a Tumblr blog, you had a theme. You had like you in order to be good at Tumblr, you had to have like an aesthetic before aesthetic was even a thing. You
Yeah.
had to have this like theme that brought people in, and a lot of times that theme was so closely tied to what you liked. Like for
Mhm.
example, I was the boho girl, so it's just funny, like I think millennials have like the reason why we like to call, like we have like usernames that are very specific,
Yes.
it was like this is just the age we grew up in. But and like all of my Tumblr blog was like tropical, like Thailand. Like, I don't know
Yes.
why that was like my thing, but that was my thing. And now I live in like Miami, Florida. I'm like, so it's just interesting how visuals can have such a through line to who you are and what you do. And I think I love that you also had a Tumblr because it just proves, not that I didn't know this already, but it just proves that you totally understand like what it
Mhm.
means to create a cohesive body of visual work.
Yes. No, I 100% I like agree with all of that. I feel like Tumblr was like the original Pinterest, but
Yes.
like in more of like a journaling way.
It really was. And I think it gave such I mean, it's not around anymore, I don't think, right?
I
Tumblr's,
think it is, but like you really like people really don't use it.
yeah, it's not in the
It's kind of a
conversation.
ghost town.
Yeah. Which is sad because I feel like, if like Tumblr makes a comeback, like WorkPlay clients are set. Um,
Yes.
But I would love to dive into what this new position is for you. Obviously, celebrate that with everyone listening, but I really want to outline what this position is so workplay members are clear. And then we're going to go into like how you, as a workplay member, can utilize this new position that Bekah is going to be spearheading. So basically, what we have outlined is essentially you get to have one-on-one sessions with Bekah before any of your workplace shoots and really flesh out what the storyline is going to be, what the campaign is even going to look like, the emotions that are going to be exuded, what the visuals are going to be, the visual strategy of what your campaign is. And so how it's a little different from what we were doing before is that we would kind of take you through like a self-serve version of this. And I think what we found as a team and a company is that so many people were going through this like almost like self-serve, yeah, self-serve way of creating visuals. And so if you are not a creative person, I think sometimes people felt like, well, I don't have any ideas, and so like some of these questions that their workplace is asking me, I don't really know the answer. And so I think we were missing kind of that guide almost,
Mhm.
to help our members one-on-one really flesh out what the mood board is going to look like for this
Mhm.
upcoming quarter. What are you even launching so that we can make sure that the visuals are paired with that, and make sure it's something that stood out. Like we have hundreds of members, so we know that like we've had a lot of experience in terms of like what visual campaigns people grab onto, what's creative and what's kind of like basic, and we want to make sure that every single client is like really true to that. And I don't think after doing this for years now that WorkPlay members can do that on their own. And so I am so excited to have you go into this position inside of WorkPlay because you are a WorkPlay content creator, a working WorkPlay content creator right now. You've worked with some of our biggest brands like Sarah Jenks, for example, and helping her create the visual campaign for her big Emerge retreat that she does every single year. And so you've just had a lot of experience in like these high level campaigns that I think a lot of people seek us out for. And so I would love to kind of pick your brain on how you view this position and how like you want WorkPlay members to come into sessions with you.
Yeah, of course. So this is such a unique thing that's exclusive to our method, right? So like our clients have the tools laid out in front of them to already utilize their visuals to the fullest capacity they can. So like they are able to do the minimal that you need for content branding. But now we're at a point where we are elevating that and we are giving you guys the tools to be like, okay, look, I know that I need this and this type of visual for my business, but now I want to I want to take it a step further. But so how you do that is just by being authentic. It's by showing you and your why you decided to choose what you do with your business. It's about showing your why and really showcasing that through your visuals. It's funny because with so many clients, when I'm out on shoots, before we decided to move forward with this new creative direction position, I would be out on shoots with clients and they would be like, "Okay, so I have this idea. I kind of want to go check out this place. I don't know what your thoughts are on it. It's not really on the content plan, but I just thought it would be kind of cool." And 9 times out of 10, both of us loved that scene the most. The visuals were always natural and authentic. The locations were always beautiful and the photos were always creative. So you guys have these ideas stirring in your head. You just are second guessing yourselves. And you have to be open to receiving new ideas and be open to trying new things because you're setting yourself up to fail if you aren't open to those things. But if you are going to be open to them, like you're opening yourself up to so much growth and you may not even realize it yet.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And it's so like I am so tired of the coffee shop, scenes. I'm
Yes.
so tired of like
Yes.
the restaurant scenes. Like, and I know a lot of workplace branding members go and do those scenes. I know that that is, content planned a lot in this process. And we're tired of it. Me and Bekah are tired of
Yes.
scenes. And you know why we're tired of it is because we have hundreds of members in this process. Bekah, you've worked with hundreds of different campaigns, different
Mhm.
shoots, different clients. It's like we can see the trends, I think, even before they're trends, because we are working with the people who are creating the content. And then that's what you see on social media in your peer
Yeah.
group. And it's just like we can see when people are starting to look the same. And we're
Mhm.
kind of tired of it. Like we're kind of like tired of like the same idea. And so I think what's really cool about this position is like because we are tired of the same thing and we know that it's not working for people because again like trends come and go, like they come
Mhm.
for a reason because it does work for a time but now it's not working.
Yeah.
So I think the cool thing about this position is because we have this almost like mission and agreement on our team that like we want these visuals for you guys to be
Mhm.
so different, so unique to you. And we have such a cool process that Bekah will be like walking you through, guiding you through, being that person for you to amplify your ideas, which is I think we're super invaluable. Like this is something like creative direction is something people pay like thousands for. And this is just going to be included in the monthly $497 price point. So if you're already a member, you will start to see this in your planning workflow of your upcoming shoot, which is so cool. So I want to ask you, Bekah, because I just have a feeling because I feel like I know the WorkPlay community well. And I have a feeling that there are some people out there that are just like, I have no idea. Like, I have zero ideas. Are you still going to help me? Like, I've done 4 shoots already. Like, what's my next shoot going to be for? Like, what are you walking people through when that is the case, when they feel like they've done everything?
So first, I want, sorry. First,
I
I
love
want to
we
say,
have an extra guest on the podcast.
we do. This is Winnie. She wants to make sure that everyone knows she's here.
I
So
love it.
first and foremost, like I think it's important to go back and remember your why, right? So remember why you started your business in the first place and what you want people to feel when they become a part of your business, whether it's as a client or as an employee. You you set out to make some sort of difference or change for someone else in their life. So, like, let's implement those ideas and those emotions into your visual marketing. And, you can start simple. Like, if you absolutely are tired of the coffee shop, the working, and you want more of the lifestyle, just start slowly by integrating like visuals that are your favorite holiday, like if you don't have those. Or maybe you want to get extremely creative, but you don't know how. So let's try a different location that you've never tried before. Maybe you're nervous because you don't want to shoot outside because it's hot and you don't want to ruin your makeup and you just don't know how that would look like, but you don't know until you try. So you really have to be open into switching up your creative process because I agree with you, Lyric. I think everyone does have a creative aspect about them. They just don't know how to like spark it. They just don't know how to get there. But sometimes you just need a push. And I think that the great thing about this new position is that I am getting on these calls with you guys and I'm going to push you. I'm going to be like, okay, let's talk about what is going to elevate your visuals. And we're going to dig into everything from emotions to props to locations. And we're really going to break down what makes your business unique. And we're going to showcase that because that's what's going to draw in new customers, new clients, whoever it is that you want your visuals to speak to, it's going to bring them in that way.
Yeah, and I would say like the visuals, like they are the wrapping paper, right? So it's like if your wrapping paper is just looking like everyone else's,
Yeah.
it's not going to stand out. Like you're competing. One of our members on the podcast actually said this to Cora Davis. She was like, you're not competing with just people in your industry. You're competing with everyone on social media. You're competing with your ideal clients like uncle who just got married.
Mm-hmm.
You're competing for attention, which is why it's so important to push the visuals past the point that you have been before. And every single workplace shoot is pushing a new creative idea. And
Yes.
it's it is something that I think even the most creative people want a guide. They want something, they want someone to build off of, which I think you're perfect for this. And it's funny because like when we think about the origin of this of this position, you had come to us, saying like, hey, like I want workplay branding to be making a bigger impact. And we were coming to you saying, we want workplay branding to be making a bigger impact. And you like pitched us this idea. And in the back of our heads, we were saying like, as a, leadership team, we're like, we were about to pitch you that idea as well. So this has so much synergy between our team
Mm-hmm.
that you can just guarantee that like this is not something that we made just because we're like, oh, someone asked for it. Although we do that, but it's just like it
Yeah.
wasn't because, we were being forced into this. It was
Right.
because we literally had all of this synergy. Like it's so cool how that happens. I feel like that happens a lot in this company,
It
but
does.
I do think like that is something to note because we are really building out this experience that you can have with Bekah to be so good. And I think the number one question is when people come into the WorkPlay process is like, are you going to give me ideas? Are you going to do this are you going to think about this for me? And like the answer is yes. Like with Bekah, like that is the one job of the creative director. And although I have been screaming from the rooftops, everyone is their own creative director. I'm coming around to like, all right, let's guide people through this here because I can see how it can be super, super overwhelming.
Yeah, no, it definitely can be overwhelming. But the funny thing is, I still think that like people have it in them. Like I've been doing these calls with you guys and you all come with great ideas. Like they're like, I was kind of thinking this, but I wasn't really sure. So you just have to put the self-doubt and the limiting beliefs aside, and you have to fully embrace that you are creative. What you are thinking, your ideas, your creative ideas, as silly as they may feel to you, they're there for a reason. Your body is trying to tell you that this is the direction we need to move, and you have to embrace it because the more you bury it and be like, no, I don't want to do that. That'll be too much. The more you're going to run into bumps. And what I've learned is that when life is pushing something at you, sometimes you just got to take the bull by the horns and go with it.
I totally agree. And like this is such a energetic process. Like this is such an intuitive process. Like that's where I just feel like everyone is their own creative director because you get nudges, like you get inspired by things that you're meant to be inspired by.
Yeah.
And speaking of inspiration, because I know from just a creative director standpoint, I've done a ton of creative directing calls, not only for like WorkPlay, but also, clients as well.
Hmm.
It is really hard for us to do our jobs as creative directors. Really, really hard when you, as the client, are not inspired. And so I would love to know, like, what are some tips for someone who's going into their next shoot? Maybe they haven't done their session with you yet, but they are just feeling in a creative rut. Where can WorkPlay members go and get inspired to then actually come on the call? Like, excited with creative energy instead of like coming on the call with like, I've got nothing.
I'm so glad you asked that. So, first and foremost, you need to fill out the workbook for your visual campaigns. You need to suss out the names of your campaigns, the ideas you have for your campaigns, put it on paper, and then I want you to go to Pinterest or Instagram. And I want you to make boards, not about your shoot. I want you to put together boards that resonate with you, that make you feel inspired, whether it's building a board for your dream house, whether it's building a board for your favorite foods or a vacation or clothes that you really like. I want you to find little pockets of creativity because that is essentially what creates a creative person. Really digging into little things in life like that bring you happiness and that make you feel like inspired to go out and do something. When we see inspirational things on social media, it makes us want to go out and be inspirational. And I really am a true believer that, like, if you do the little things in your daily life to inspire yourself, that is going to naturally make you creative and it's going to naturally push you to want to grow in that way.
I
Because
totally,
yeah,
yes,
that's essentially how I grew in my creative aspects.
yeah, no, I totally agree. And like giving yourself space and time to like just think. I think sometimes as business owners or whatever you're doing, you're constantly going, 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 going.
Mhm.
It's hard to create a creative idea without any space and time. And so
Mhm.
even if that means like right before your session with Bekah, you just take 30 minutes to like relax. Take 30 minutes, no phone, go meditate. I don't know, whatever, however you like to relax and really put out the intention of like, what is my next creative vision for the next 3 months in my business? And I would also say that I think just from experience of like workplace branding is that a lot of business owners who are, let's say for example, they have like a lot of business owners are in their masculine, and so they're thinking about like, okay, I need to run this ad campaign, it needs to generate X amount of leads so that we can get X amount of revenue, right? And so how does like, you know, like it, maybe you have a creative direction where it's like I just got back from Europe, so maybe you're like in a cobblestone street in the middle of Spain or something like that, and you have this idea but it has nothing to do with your ad campaign, so you think. And
Mhm.
it's like that is where the storytelling aspect of your visual campaign and what you're doing in your business is going to bridge the gap, and that's what's going to make you really unique. And
Mhm.
essentially what we're doing here. So it's like I don't want you guys to think like, oh well, but I have all of these projects and like we got to make sure we hit certain numbers for this launch and I have a new service. It's just like that is your masculine. Let's get out of the masculine, let's get into the feminine, and let's think about like creativity visually. What is that going to look like? And if it has nothing to do with like the ad campaign, the service, that is even better. It's like
Yes.
that's what's going to pull people
Yes.
in. They're going
A
to be
hundred
like,
percent.
what is that?
Yes. 100%. And it's funny that you say that too, because it reminds me of when like it's during like COVID when I wasn't working a physical job, I was doing like a lot of random online things to make money. And something I had started doing was MLMs, right? Dirty word. But we one of the big things that I learned when I was doing that was how to connect a person to a product. And it actually taught me so much because I found myself posting stories about the picture would literally be like a cup of tea, like in the sun. It was like shimmering, whatever. It was a pretty picture. But then the text on it or the audio would be something that was like pulling people in. Like there was something about it that like people were captivated by it. And I think like learning how to really like connect the emotions through the visuals in that way when whatever the text was had nothing to do with the tea, like I was, I don't know, it was just such as uh something that I learned that has so much power and that is not utilized enough.
Yeah, and it's like that's like advertising. Like you are advertising for your business. I think like people throw around the word marketing, but like it's advertising. There has to be psychology. We have to take people through these journeys, these feelings.
Hmm.
That is why people buy. It's like
Yeah.
words can only do so much, although the words are really helpful with bridging, a really esoteric visual with
Hmm.
whatever the angle is. Like words are
Yeah.
really good at that. But the visual, how are we going to feel something? How are we going to like think about, okay, this product or service is getting my ideal client end result.
Hmm.
So what is that end result making them feel like? And then what visual is going to make them feel like that end result? So it's not like the end result that we're capturing the emotion of the end result and then bridging the gap, through various things like landing pages, websites, social copy, that sort of thing. But the visual doesn't need to be so literal. Like just
Yes.
because you're an ads manager doesn't mean we need to have you like working on your laptop, in every single scene. We want you like putting out a full-blown quarterly campaign for your ad service
Hmm.
that is like rooted in some sort of result that you want your people to feel. And that is way different than
Yes.
what we have been seeing trending, which I'm so glad that we're kind of like bringing this to light, because I feel like this is the first time workplay branding is like, hey, like
Yes.
stop doing that,
Yes. This
I
is the wake up call.
Yes, this is the wake up call. Consider this your creative wake up call. Maybe that's what we'll name this episode.
Amazing.
I'm so happy that you are going into this new position. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for our clients that get to like experience your creative process and really getting that out of them for their shoots. This is just going to like completely up level everyone's visuals. I'm so excited for people to experience this, because this isn't even a power up, like this is something that is just included in the monthly service. So Bekah, this is going to be great. I can't wait for you to be rocking and rolling with all of the creative direction for all of the workplay clients. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much. I am so excited and I cannot wait to see what we all create together.